Do you enjoy your relationship with God? Do you enjoy your prayer? Do you enjoy your spiritual practices? Or are those things more about obligation or doing it the right way? As I reflect on the times where Jesus encountered children, I get the sense that he enjoyed their presence. He hugged them, he blessed them. But the disciples in this passage today are being gatekeepers. They're essentially saying, not here, not now, not these people. And it says Jesus was indignant with them. The Greek word used here conveys a visceral kind of indignation. For Jesus, children are another metaphor for the kingdom of God. They show a different way of being. Sophia Cavalletti, who pioneered the catechesis of the Good Shepherd, observed that young children have a natural ability to enjoy their relationship with God in a very deep way. Children are capable of enjoying the presence of God. They are able to give themselves totally to God's love. That word, enjoy, appears twice in just two sentences. Cavalletti is pointing us towards something that we've lost or perhaps never fully grasped. That enjoyment isn't a nice bonus feature of the spiritual life, something for beginners before they graduate to more serious practice. No, enjoyment is essential. It's at the vital nucleus of our relationship with God. Children show us that enjoyment is an essential part of the spiritual life. They haven't yet learned to separate duty from delight or obligation from desire. When a child is absorbed in something they love, building with blocks, listening to a story, or exploring a new place, they give themselves to it completely. There's no self-consciousness, no measuring whether they're doing it correctly, no anxious checking to see if they're making progress. They're simply there, fully present, wholly engaged. This is how they approach God too. And when we don't get in the way, they're there. They encounter God. Both Cavalletti and Maria Montessori understood something crucial about spiritual formation. When presenting sacred truths to children, we should only offer the essentials, leaving space for them to wonder, explore, and discover God for themselves. There's a profound trust here in this approach, trust in the child's natural ability to encounter the divine, trust that God is already at work in them, trust that mystery doesn't need to be explained away or domesticated. The teacher's role isn't to fill every silence or answer every question, but to lay out the essential elements and then step back, allowing the relationship between the child and God to unfold. Is that not what Jesus did with his parables and his answering questions with questions? He gave room for discovery rather than providing quick and easy doctrinal answers. The mystery of God cannot be explained away. As adults, we tend to move away from the essentials. We complicate things. We build elaborate theological systems, create requirements for membership, establish hierarchies of worthiness. We become gatekeepers ourselves, deciding who belongs and who doesn't, who's doing it right and who isn't. We focus on procedure rather than genuine encounter, on getting the words exactly right rather than opening ourselves to wonder. Jesus spent much of his ministry trying to undo this impulse, welcoming those the religious leaders excluded, touching those considered untouchable, insisting that the kingdom of God belonged to people everyone else had written off. Somewhere along the way, we adults learned to put on masks. We develop careful presentations of competence and control. We hide our neediness, our doubts, our questions. We pretend to have it all figured out, or at least that we're not as confused as we actually are. Yes, we may not throw tantrums like a 2-year-old, but we've developed more sophisticated ways of resisting vulnerability. Polite deflections, spiritual jargon that keeps people at a distance, or the quiet pride of appearing to need nothing and no one. These masks might make us feel safer or more respectable, but they block us from the vulnerable openness that children bring so naturally to the kingdom of God. Children haven't yet learned to be embarrassed by their dependence. They ask for what they need. They admit when they don't understand. They show up as they are. And children can see the kingdom here and now in ways that we've forgotten. They notice beauty in small things that adults rush past: a ladybug on a leaf, the perfect smoothness of a stone, the beauty of the moon. They're not waiting for some future heavenly realm. They're enchanted by the sacred reality that's already present here and now, already available. What would it mean for us to recover that kind of attention, that capacity to see God's kingdom breaking through in the ordinary moments that we so often overlook? You know, the word silly originally meant happy or blessed, the very word that Jesus uses in the Beatitudes. But over time, it evolved to mean innocent, then harmless, then weak, and finally, foolish. That progression is revealing, isn't it? What begins as happiness and blessedness becomes, in our sophisticated adult world, something to dismiss or scorn. Maybe being silly in its original sense means recovering that childlike openness that makes us receptive to wonder and mystery. It means seeking the vital nucleus of things rather than getting lost in our elaborate defenses. It means letting ourselves be gathered into God's arms without first making sure we're presentable. Cavalletti reminds us that the child himself will be our teacher if we know how to observe. The disciples wanted to protect Jesus from interruption, but the children weren't interrupting the kingdom. They were revealing it. They still are, if we're willing to learn. Perhaps the question isn't how we bring children to God, but whether we'll let them show us the way there instead. Back to that place where enjoyment and devotion aren't separate, where dependence isn't weakness, where the kingdom of God is as close as a child's delight in a beautiful, ordinary moment.